Well, welcome back to the Brian Crombie Radio Hour. So we've heard from some people from the Teachers Union. We've heard from lots of different people on this topic. I now want to join you in with a teacher. Randall Keast has been a teacher since 1986. He's taught in Japan and Bahrain, as well as in Canada. He's currently teaching history and philosophy at Georgetown District High School. He's been an international baccalaureate, diploma coordinator, a teacher, and a past department head of global education at GDHS, Georgetown District High School. Thanks so much for joining us. I appreciate you being willing to come in and tell me what it's like. So tell me, what do you think about going back to school this year, Randall?
I'm excited. It's a new challenge for sure. It's, I guess we're dealing with the pandemic and there's a lot of anxiety amongst teachers, but everybody that I'm associated with are quite excited about the opportunity of just getting back in the classroom with our students.
What plans have you got for physical distancing?
Well, we are currently, the Halton District School Board is doing 4 quadmesters, they're calling it, of 2 classes each. So my, the classes that I have to teach are, I have 6 of my complement of classes I'll teach over the course of a year, 6 courses. So in the first quadmester, I have 2 grade 10 history classes. The second quadmester, I have a grade 9 geography. Third quadmester, I have my philosophy class as well as my IB higher level history class. And in the fourth quadmester, I have an ancient civilizations class, grade 11.
And so is that going to allow for distancing? Are you going to reduce class size? Are you going to separate out the desks? What are you going to do?
The way the quadmesters are set up is, so for instance, in my 2 Canadian history classes that I teach in the first quadmester, we will have from 8 o'clock or from 8:40 or 8:50 in the day, about a 3-hour class. So we have our first period is, we have 2 cohorts of kids. So in a typical week, next week, Monday it starts, I will see 1/2 of my first period or my my in-class students for 2 days, 3 days. And then I'll have the second half of that, they're calling them cohorts of about 15 students for the last 2 or 3 days of the week. The kids come in the morning at 9 o'clock and they leave at 12 noon for their in-class segment of the course. Then the teachers will have a 75-minute lunch period. The students go home, and in the afternoon from about 1 o'clock to 3 o'clock, I'll have my second period class in a virtual learning environment. And I will teach them the programming on synchronous learning, which is online, basically like you and I are talking right here. Students will be at home, and I'll be conducting the class through Google Meet with presentation and work for the students.
So the students get effectively half as much of your time, and you get in your classroom half as many students at a time.
Well, basically in the classroom, a quadmester is going to last for 10 weeks. And so the students, when they come into my class, for the first cohort, for instance, for the first 3 days, we're going to actually see each other for 3 hours, and there'll be breaks added into that mix as well. So it's very, very concentrated. I will be in front of 15 students for the first cohort of that first half of the class for about 9 hours in a week. And then the second cohort will come in for the first period class, and I'll see them for 6. The following week, we flip. So the second period, a second Canadian history that I teach in the afternoon, will flip into a morning class in front of me for the 3 hours each day.
You'll all be wearing masks. Do you think that'll impact the communication ability?
Well, when I wear the mask that I've been given, and I'm wearing my glasses, they fog up. That's just part of our reality. We also have a face shield that goes over top of the whole thing. So is it going to impact? It is going to definitely impact the way I teach, because I like to be out amongst the students, and we won't be able to do that. I'll teach from the front of the room, and my students will be sitting in their desks. The whole nature of how we deliver program is going to change quite radically. Students can do group work, but they can't get up and move around and be with other students. So we'll be using Chromebooks and computers, and the students will be at their desks and setting up. I'll set up Google Meets, and the students will be able to do group work through the Google Meet.
You had experience with virtual learning in the spring. What do you think of it? Do you think this is going to set students back, or given the circumstance, it's the best thing we can do?
Given the circumstances, it's the best that we can do right now. Will students be behind? I do not believe so. We will catch the students up when this is all over and the vaccine is out, hopefully. We'll get back to what we do in the classrooms. But for right now, this is the best I think that we can do.
You know, it's interesting, you're a history teacher, so to a certain extent, we're living history. It's the first time in 100 years that we've lived through this. And you're a philosophy teacher. You know, whether public health is more important than education and jobs and economic, you know, we're living through some pretty important questions for your classes.
Oh, very much so, very much so. And I know that there's discussions that we have in all of the classes will, as you say, first pandemic in 100 years, and significant changes to how we do things for sure, significant for the classroom teacher and for education and for the economy and the importance of getting going. Many different aspects of this for sure.
I know music is important to you. Will there be band? Will there be football? Will there be extracurricular activities?
There are no extracurricular activities until there's a vaccine, as far as I know. I know that the fall sports have been canceled. And in terms of the band and the music program, I have not talked with the music teacher to find out whether he's delivering program. I know that many of my friends who teach in the elementary panel are gearing up for music in the elementary panel. I know it's going to look differently, but they are offering music in elementary schools. So I imagine they will be in the secondary as well.
Randall Keast, teacher at Georgetown High School. I appreciate you joining us tonight. If you could speak to all the students in Ontario tonight, what would you tell them?
That's a very good question. I think that it's going to be different for sure. But it's not something that you are not going to have success with. I believe that students at Georgetown, for instance, are fabulous and hardworking students, and they will figure out how to be successful in this new environment for sure.
If you were the Minister of Education, would you do anything different than we've done?
If I was the Minister of Education, I would have involved the unions in the whole organization of this online approach, this virtual approach. Unfortunately, according to OSSTF President Bischoff, they've been asking to be involved and have not been involved up to this point. So it's quite frustrating from that perspective. I know that our school board, for instance, was told in June to come together with an idea, a package, a way of delivering program, and made their pitch for what they wanted to do. They worked all summer on this in August 15th, and were denied. And they had to really quickly try to figure out something different. And I believe they've chosen the model that's being used by Ottawa Carleton, which is this quadmester approach.
So you're a history teacher. George Santayana was famously quoted saying, if you don't learn from history, you're doomed to repeat it. We didn't learn from what happened in 1919, 1920 in the Spanish flu, did we?
Well, That's a good question, Brian. I think we have. I look at the example of us here in Ontario and Canada. I think what the two governments have done up to this point has put us in a pretty good place right now in terms of trying to mitigate the spread of COVID-19, making us and reduce the number of people in our bubbles, suggesting that we all wear masks, and gradually trying to get us back into a normalcy. That's a good question. I think that we have learned, and I think the health departments throughout Canada have definitely learned and know how to approach this situation. I just look at the United States and what's happening in the United States, and I'm thankful that I live here in Canada, for sure.
Me too. Randall Keast, a teacher of history and philosophy at Georgetown District High School. Thank you so much for joining us. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for your time, sir.
Good evening, everyone. Thanks for joining.